Hey, it's John and Mike, brew-news.com, and we're back. You know what time of year it is? It's time for graduation parties. And sometimes you're given late notice that, hey, I'd like a beer at that party. So with the power of experience and science, I guess, science got this recipe going and was pouring 10 days after the brew session. So we're calling this the Rad Grad Hazy Pale Ale recipe. All right, I'll talk to you as you drink. This is a 5-gallon batch in the fermenter. The water I used was half distilled, half filtered tap water from our own system. Still seasoned that with a gram of gypsum and a Camden tablet just to make sure
Camden all the time, yeah.
Get any chlorine out of our tap water. But I like that mix because if I use distilled, and then it kind of just cuts the sodium and other.
But for the people at home too, I mean, in a beer like this, we have a lot of sodium and a lot of chloride,
yes,
so
yeah.
it works.
It does work. Okay, let's get on to grains. So this is 10 pounds of Pilsner malt, 3/4 of a pound of Great Western American Pale Malt. That's because I had it left over, threw that in. Did a pound of flake barley for mouthfeel. And then a ½ pound of Carafoam to keep that head persistent. All right, let's talk hops because that's what we're here for. Started off with the, at the start of the boil, 60-minute boil, Southern Passion hops. That's around, yeah. I had a 2-ounce package of it.
Okay.
And at about 7% alpha. Thought that would be a good one to be the bittering charge. After that, it's at the end of the boil, and it's a mixture of these 3 hops. It's New Zealand Rakau hops. Yeah, I heard some guy. I actually Rakau.
Oh, sorry.
If you're from New Zealand, you say Rakau. Okay. It's funny. This guy was saying like, okay, let me go through all the list of New Zealand hops. I'll start with Green Bullet. He's like helping us pronounce the hops. I'm like, yeah, I think I got Green Bullet, but Rakau or Rakau hops. I'll tell you the amounts, but I just want to get through all the hops first. Australian Galaxy hops, and then Sultana hops. These are all in that realm of, well, Rakau is the whole orchard. Galaxy we know has lots of tropical, and then Sultana had some of those, you know, piney, coconutty things, I think. When I read it, I was like, okay, let's try that. So at Whirlpool at 185 degrees Fahrenheit, 85 degrees Celsius, we did 2 ounces of all 3 of those hops each. 2 ounces of Rakau, 2 ounces of Galaxy, 2 ounces of Sultana. And we let that go for 10 minutes at that temperature. Then we chilled it all down and put it in the fermenter. Then we did dry hop for 3 days. Again, 7-day fermentation, so 3 days was towards the end. 2 ounces of Rakau again, 2 ounces of Galaxy, and just 1 ounce of Sultana because I didn't really know that one as well, and just thought I'd lean into the ones I like. Okay, now the yeast. Got it. Big ups to Cellar Science.
I love these guys.
Yes. Just 1 packet of the hazy dry beer yeast. That thing fermented like a workhorse.
Yep.
It was the Krausen had dropped at day 7, which is what I wanted without any kind of.
Yep.
I'd still cold crashed it before I packaged it, but it was all signs of fermentation. Were done.
Yep.
And it started to clear. It was starting to clear out. I was like, oh wow.
Yep.
Good choice.
Yep.
Can't say enough about that.
Would strongly recommend it.
So mashed for 60 minutes, boiled for 60 minutes, fermented for 7 days at 68 degrees Fahrenheit, 20 degrees Celsius. Cold crash, like I said, lactic head and carbonated, all within 10 days. Original gravity on this was 1052. Final gravity was 1010 for an ABV of 5.5% alcohol. All right, Michael, what do you think of this beer?
Let me start with the beer itself. Like, I think that the malt bill, like the body on this and the way it drinks from the grain bill standpoint is just super, relatively simple grain bill, and you didn't really go out of your way to make it work like this, but it's pretty soft, it's nice. I mean, maybe that's the combination of our tap water, cut it. You found a magic ratio there.
Half and half, baby.
Yeah, it's really is full, but then the fermentation, it finishes dry. Like, it's not full bodied, it's just pleasantly medium bodied, which I like in this style of pale ale, this New England pale ale, if you will. It's so that's like super. I just want to keep drinking it almost just for that. The fermentation profile is awesome. It's clean. It supports the malt and it lets the hops come through. So the hop aroma on this, at first I was getting, it's actually mostly floral. And then as you're talking, it's warmed up a little bit and I keep shaking it. I'm starting to now get what you'd get, like what Yakima would say, like sweet fruit.
Yeah.
So it's mild, it's subtle.
Yeah, it's not.
There's a little bit of like, it's a little bit citrusy, but it's more so, I get like a touch of like really underripe mango, underripe guava, almost to the point where it's nondescript. It's just sweet fruit, but it's certainly not sweet. But just to put it in a category that we're familiar with, that's how I would describe it. But I definitely also get in there a little bit of like geranium flowers. Or it's more floral than it is fruity, but there is that undertone of sweet fruit. And then the flavor follows through the same thing. I get that, more of that geranium, but then there's a really pleasant, I'm almost getting more of that pineapple orange citrus thing.
Yeah.
And really subtle. That flavor profile rides over the aroma of the tropical fruit, but it's in there if you just kick back and try to enjoy it and find it. It is in there. So I would say the hop character overall is not super descriptive in any one direction, but it's super comforting in the space it contains, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just to try to put different language
Sure.
on it. And again, it's all being cradled by this beautiful execution of the malt bill and the water profile.
Yeah.
I mean, in a beer like this, you're looking for like, in a world where we're just looking for all this hop character, this beer actually is striking a really nice balance between here's some of the things you like in hops, but here's the beer, right? Here's the beer with its malt and its yeast profile, and it's like really great. It's excellent.
Yeah, when I first tapped it, it had a strong note of pineapple, and it's sort of gone away now. Now it's just
those ones fade pretty quick. It seems, right?
Very delicate. But I like it. You're right. There isn't one thing I can pull out of it. It's but it's tasty. You know,
Yeah,
I'd say that
it's highly drinkable.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was going for. I mean, this is something where you're going to have a lot of people drinking it. They're not going to just have one. They're going to have a few. And that's what I thought I'd get out of it. I don't really, I had a lot of the Rakau hops. There was a thought that I just use that because I had like a pound of it. But I just wanted to try a bunch of things. I had a lot of all of those hops.
I will say that I know I've seen online a lot of places people complaining that like Galaxy seems to not be delivering anymore on like that juicy fruit thing, like that juicy fruit gum thing that it used to have. But somewhere in here, it's working. I mean, and it's giving a really nice balanced profile between those three hops. I think it works. It works really well. Sultana's the wild card in there, I think.
Yeah,
I think it's what's making it unique. And not in a negative way, but is what's making it hard to say, oh yeah, I get the mango, I get the this.
Sure.
It's sort of like Sultana's just sort of like keeping it all hidden in check. Yeah, it's really
Need to
good.
drink some more to figure this out.
Yeah. This is great.
And again, okay, well, I think that I've nailed the I'm just have to like figure out how I'm just going to be able to throw in just 3/4 of a pound of Great Western pale malt just to throw in there. But that's just to like, because I had it left over.
Why not?
I always liked flake barley. I know that traditionally you're supposed to use flaked oats,
killer,
and I think that's great. I actually had 2 pounds of that, and I opted just for the pound.
We did some flaked adjunct comparisons in the past, and I think we both sort of gravitated a little bit more to the barley.
I did, yeah. And I think that's why I bought as much as I did, because I was like, oh, I'll use that at some point. Yeah, and I think that's it. Again, can't say enough about the Cellar Science dry yeasts. Would love to try more of the strains that they have available.
I've had great luck with the Cali, with the English. They even have like a Baja for Mexican lager. They have. Okay. I haven't tried that one yet. I haven't seen it, but they've got 5 or 6, and they've all been great. They start right away. They
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I've used the Hazy before too, but they're Cali and it's called English. They have a German one. Maybe it's just called German. I can't remember, but that one's great too. So
cool. Yeah. The one note I would say that fermentation started within 12 hours.
Yeah.
Like, it was definitely seemed like probably was done by midday. By the time I was going to bed, it was starting. Yeah. I was like, awesome. Okay, we're on. So we're going to make the deadline. All right, so that's a Rad Grad Hazy Pale Ale. Hope you enjoyed it. Certainly, if you live in this part of the world, our water is good, but you need to dilute it a little bit with something like distilled water, just to cut it down a little bit. All right. Hopefully you like that. Thumbs up, you know what to do. Give us the old like button click if you like this video. Subscribe to our channel because we do this kind of thing every single week. For John and Mike, brew-dudes.com. Brew on.
Cheers.